Welcome to Frankly Speaking, the show where we dig deep into the insights of some of the leading policymakers and business people in the Middle East and the world. I'm Frank Kane. Today, I'm delighted to be joined from London by Rajeev Misra, Chief Executive of the Vision Fund, the biggest technology startup investor on the planet, with around $130 billion invested in some of the most cutting-edge businesses anywhere in the world. Mr. Misra, welcome to Frankly Speaking.
Thank you, Frank, for hosting me. Hope to see you sometime this year soon in the Middle East over the summer.
I hope so. I feel we're getting nearer to that, aren't we? Mr. Misra, let me first of all congratulate you on the excellent contribution that Vision Fund made to SoftBank 2021 results. But I wonder how much of it was down to your expertise as an investor and how much just down to globally strong stock markets. Frankly speaking, did you just get lucky?
So let me say this, Frank. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary of the Vision Fund 2 weeks ago. The Vision Fund was set up in May 2017 with the blessings and support of His Highness, the Crown Prince, and Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the CEO of PIF, to invest in disruptive companies that use AI and benefit from that. And we wanted to get ahead of that AI revolution, which was the mandate of the Vision Fund. COVID last year validated our vision and accelerated it dramatically. It would have happened anyways. It just accelerated it by a few years. The pandemic catalyzed the adoption of digital services, key sectors where we are invested with this, and it impacted every aspect of the global economy, from e-commerce, online education, food delivery, healthcare. The fact that you have a vaccine in 9 months was by a small company out of Germany is because of AI and data sciences. So yes, the markets help. The buoyancy of the markets are important, but the companies have to do well. A bad investment, even in a good market, does not make you money. So our strong IPO pipeline continued last quarter. We had AutoOne, Qualtrics, so on. Our private companies that we have invested in Vision Fund 1 are attracting capital. To answer your question, it's a team effort. It's not about just having an expertise. It's in 4 years since we started, we have grown the team from 15 people to 450 people in 11 offices around the world. We are local. We are deeply in touch with all the entrepreneurs who are starting up new businesses. We follow them for years. We then invest in them. So the markets help, but the markets will only help those who are invested in the right companies.
Okay. But at the end of the day, wasn't it all about a one-off gain from Coupang, the South Korean e-commerce company that IPO'd in New York and showed you a very big profit?
Coupang was one of them, sir. We had several IPOs that had huge profits in the past 5 months. Coupang is an exciting outcome, and Coupang is an amazing story because we stuck with Coupang even when they were not doing well. We gave them $1.5 billion 2.5 years ago when they were struggling. We went through, and that's the beauty of the Vision Fund. And with investing, there are summers, there are winters, there are different seasons. It's about sticking with them, believing in them, helping them, guiding them, and when nobody else is investing in them, to come in and support them financially. And we increased our stake in Coupang, and before it IPO'd, we had 38% stake in Coupang. It's a good example of the power law. A small number of companies drive most of the returns in technology investing. If you look at the Vision Fund 1, we have 85 investments, of which a dozen won't do well, and 20 will do amazingly well, like Coupang, and another 50 will do very well. But we've had
Okay.
19 portfolio companies go public since inception of Vision Fund 1.
Okay. There have been two vision funds so far, raising a total of about 130 billion, as I said. Tell me, will there be a Vision Fund 3?
Well, we're not even, we just started Vision Fund 2 a year ago, sir. Of the 30 billion that SoftBank Group has allocated to Vision Fund 2, we are perhaps 15 to 20 billion invested. There will be Vision Fund 3, there will be Vision Fund 4. The important thing is to create an infrastructure of 450 employees in 11 offices who can continue the work for the next 10 to 12 years, next 20 years. And we have done something in 4 years that a lot of asset managers take decades to build. So we build a platform that will continue investing for the next couple of decades that needs to also look after the companies. The business of investing is not just to deploy capital. It is also to work with your existing portfolio companies to help them grow, to help them connect with each other, to benefit from the ecosystem, take them public. So we're not thinking about the next one. We are just focused right now about finding interesting investment opportunities around the world for Vision Fund 2.
Okay, but sorry, just let me clarify. Did you say there will be a Vision Fund 3, there will be a Vision Fund 4?
There will be many vision funds over the next many decades.
Okay, great, thanks. Tell me about the relationship with the Middle East, because that's where I am and where a lot of interest has been in Vision Fund in the past. But neither the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia nor Mubadala of the UAE took part in Vision Fund 2, did they? Why was that? Are big global investors not going for the Vision Fund story anymore?
Look, we wouldn't have a Vision Fund today without the PIF or the Crown Prince. So there would be no SoftBank Vision Fund without their support. We exist with their help. I speak with the PIF every week. I regularly travel to the region. I was there for the FII earlier this year, for the Saudi Gulf. We had the Global AI Summit last year. We're in constant dialogue, both with Abu Dhabi and with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They will get involved when they want to get involved. They are welcome to be involved with the Vision Fund. As Masa said in his earnings a couple of weeks ago, that some investors were wary after WeWork and the performance of the fund a year and a half ago. But we are a family. We exist because of them. The Vision Fund is a joint effort by our two major LPs, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Mubadala. And they whenever they decide to join in the next fund, we'll be ecstatic.
Part of the reason for the close relationship between Saudi Arabia and Vision Fund in the past was that Vision Fund, as I understand it, pledged to bring startups and jobs to Saudi Arabia. But I'm not sure there's been much evidence of that happening, has there? Can you update us on what's going on there?
Well, first and foremost, we have local offices, both in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, and in Abu Dhabi. Talking about the Saudi, we have introduced over 30 SoftBank Vision Fund companies to the region in the past 4 years. Many of these are now fully operational, serving communities. Of course, COVID naturally slowed the process, but we have continued to make progress in the background. Klook, an online travel company from Asia, recently announced a partnership with the Sira Group. We work a lot with Sagia for inward investments. We did a lot of work with Saudi Solar, which has nothing to do with the Vision Fund. Energy Vault, which is one of our portfolio companies, is exploring partnership options with the state energy partners. Automation Anywhere, another robotic process automation company, has signed MOUs with civil IT initiatives. We have a full-fledged office in Riyadh whose only responsibility is to bring our 150 portfolio companies to come into Saudi. Um, and I expect over the next 12 months, uh, we plan to introduce and bring a lot more companies because the technology is critical for the region, for His Highness's Vision 2030, and to create jobs. Our companies, I believe, will play a key role in not only developing the entrepreneurial talent, but to create jobs. I'm a trustee at KAUST, which is one of the top science universities in the world. There's amazing talent in Saudi Arabia. We are on the cusp of making our first investment in a local company, which is from Vision Fund 2.
Oh,
Which
interesting. Can you tell us any detail, or do you remain on the cusp?
no, we have agreed to invest. We have not announced it. It's a local messaging company. Very excited about it. And it'll be announced shortly over the next week or 10 days. We'll let the company announce it rather than us announcing it.
Okay.
It's a Saudi company.
Okay. But to clarify again, you have brought startups to the kingdom, your portfolio companies, and you plan to do more in the coming year or so.
I believe we have created thousands of jobs, our portfolio companies in the region, whether it's in construction, whether it's in hospitality or technology. And we work very closely, not just with the PIF, but with Sagia in doing so. And that work is, we're a 4-year-old fund. This will continue over the next many years.
Okay. Let me move on to the general investment climate in the kingdom. Some people say that the kingdom has struggled to attract foreign direct investment. Do you think that's true? And if it is, why?
I disagree. There are limitless opportunities to invest in Saudi across all sectors. It's 30 million population. It's young. It's growing. You have a dynamic leadership. Riyadh has ambitious plans to become the business hub of the region. The recent announcement to attract regional headquarters to Riyadh will involve huge incentives that support relocation. I mean, Riyadh is recently recognized in the top 15 most entrepreneurial cities globally. I think it's attracting tremendous foreign investments, including, as I said, from the Vision Fund, our first investment in a local company.
Okay, let's move global, if we could. Uh, Tell me how you regard the global investment climate at the moment.
Look, in the Vision Fund, we don't look at the investment climate on a quarterly or an annual basis. And you cannot. You have to take views on investing on a secular trends. And the secular trends are that the data revolution, the technology revolution is just accelerating. And it's not just accelerating with your regular industries like e-commerce or food delivery or etc. But it's accelerating in life sciences, in major industries. What are the two biggest industries that impact our GDP? It's healthcare and education. Over the next 5 years, the hundreds of billions of value will be created in customized healthcare, in reducing the cost of healthcare, in personalized medicine, um, and also democratizing online education, where education is only accessible to few, quality education. With online education, you will have online high schools to colleges providing, Ivy League education globally. We believe AI will transform every industry in the world. So, to answer your question about the investment climate, of course, there are some. I mean, you have the stock market doing well, interest rates are low, capital is cheap. There's a lot of capital in the system that could go with inflation going up in 6 9 months, but that's not neither here or there. What is important is that these new companies that are being started will disrupt existing companies and become leaders. A ByteDance, TikTok didn't exist 5 years ago. A Didi didn't exist 5 years ago. A Coupang didn't exist 5 6 years ago. And they're 50, $60 billion companies. Um, so, but getting more granular, China has bounced back and portfolio companies like Didi are now surpassing their pre-pandemic levels. US economy is recovering very fast. We are a bit alarmed about the pandemic in India and monitoring it. The UK is opening up, and the rest of EU should open up by the summer. So we are very constructive about the investment climate for the next 12 months, but that's not what we take into consideration when we make long-term views,
Okay.
long-term investments.
Okay. It's all about technology, isn't it? And the technology sector has driven the stock market boom that we've seen and accelerated it during the pandemic. But if technology goes pop, are we all doomed?
Can technology go pop? Can you live without your phone? Can you live without internet? Can you live without modern medicine? Can you live without e-commerce? So technology is going nowhere. Technology is like what the human DNA is to your daily existence. It is intertwined with you. It's going nowhere. If either you adopt it or the business goes bust. If businesses don't adopt technology in some form, whether it's banks, whether it's insurance companies, or manufacturing.
Okay.
If your question is, will the world look different and use less technology post-pandemic? No. There is no more new normal, because what has happened is the fact we're doing a Zoom and not traveling as much, or the fact that if you go back 2 years, a lot of the so-called disruptive companies were used by a certain demographics which were between 15 and 30 years old. But even your parents, even us, we are now signed up for all these companies, whether it's food delivery, e-commerce, Zoom, etc., etc. And that's not going back to normal. Whether it's online education, and we look at one of our online education companies in China, it had 25 million daily users pre-pandemic. It has 120 million today.
Right.
Enterprise software, entertainment has changed.
Okay. Technology is here to stay then. I guess as long as the cyber warriors allow it.
It is part of your DNA.
Okay.
It's not separate anymore.
Okay. I was trying to inquire whether you had any doubts about cyber attacks, cyber security, which could bring the whole thing to a very big pop, couldn't it?
Well, it could disrupt. That is always there. I mean, the world went nuclear. When the world went nuclear, did the world come to a stop? I mean, everything has its positives and negatives, and positives are 90%, 10% you'll have negatives. Yes, there will be certain side effects of technology as it brings the world closer, but the benefits are immense. As people are going to live longer, people are, we have to take care of them. We have to educate them. It brings costs down. It makes the world more efficient. So it creates jobs, unlike what a lot of people thought about during the Industrial Revolution, that it takes away jobs. If you look at our companies, they created hundreds of thousands of jobs in 2020, even during COVID. Just a Coupang in South Korea hired 20,000 people last year. Our portfolio companies will create jobs.
Okay. Let me just delve back into the past a little bit. There have been governance issues at Vision Fund portfolio companies, haven't there? Some people have called this a Wild West culture in the past. I guess that the biggest example was at WeWork. Tell me why this happened, and what steps have you taken to address this Wild West culture?
Well, I don't agree with the Wild West. The Wild West, I guess, settle the U.S. and build the railways, and the U.S. is what it is today. But maybe that's a compliment. But let me say this: we in Vision Fund 1 we have 85 portfolio companies. In Vision Fund 2 we have 70 or 80 companies. We take minority stakes in those companies. We don't run those companies. We sit on the boards. We do keep an eye on them, but we don't day-to-day run those companies. but we did make some mistakes and we learned from it. Since then, we have undergone a major turnaround, and now we make sure there are no conflicts of interest with the founder, etc. So we have invested heavily in the governance of the fund level, i.e., looking at our portfolio companies. But again, we don't run these companies. We're minority investors, but there were lessons learned. And we continue to build up the management of Vision Fund and our portfolio companies for the long term.
Okay. Let me ask you about SPACs, if you wouldn't mind, because special purpose acquisition companies, some call them blank check companies, and there has been some speculation that you will use these as a way to exit portfolio companies. What's your view on SPACs? They have been rather more criticized recently, haven't they?
Yes, I think it got a bit overdone and overheated, and the SEC stepped in. But let me tell you about SPACs. I mean, SPAC is just another tool for a company to go public. What is the benefit that a SPAC gives you? It gives you the benefit of speed, than going through the traditional IPO route, and it gives you the benefit of certainty of execution. Also, there's a third benefit: you can show forward financials. But there was a proliferation of SPACs. There were several hundred of them done by sponsors who just came off the street. So it is getting rationalized, and but it's an important tool for us to be able to invest in companies. So far, a lot of our companies have gone public using other SPACs. Not a single one have used our own SPAC. Whether it's Open Door, whether it's Grab, etc., etc. But we're not going to use our SPACs necessarily to take our own companies public. But the most important message here is, for a company, once you go public, you have to be ready to go public. You have to be prepared to go public. You have to understand that you have to get up every quarter and explain to the analysts and the shareholders how you have performed. You have to give forward guidance. And many companies go public sooner than they should, because when you're growing fast, you don't want to go public necessarily too quickly and not be able to take the risk, not be able to make a few mistakes, which is what it takes to grow fast and be answerable every quarter. You don't want to manage your business by the quarter.
Okay. Mr. Misra, let me ask you finally, what is it like working with Masayoshi Son? Is he truly the visionary investor of legend, or is all that hype? You know him well. Tell me.
I've known him since 2002, when I was at Deutsche Bank, when we financed a lot of his investments. And I tell you this, he sees the world not 1 year from now, but what it will look like 5 years, 10 years, 7 years from now, and has the risk appetite to take those views and invest in them, which very few people on the planet have. I still remember him buying in 2006 January a small mobile company in Japan called Vodafone Japan, when you had two large competitors, NTT and KTTI. And I asked him, Masa, why are you buying the number 3 player and a mobile phone player and for $20 billion when the market cap of SoftBank was $9 billion? And he said, Rajeev, you don't understand. And there were no smartphones in 2006 January. There was no iPhone. There was no smartphones. We were using the old Nokia push button phones. And he said, Rajeev, you don't understand. Computing is going to move to the hand from the desktop. People are not going to be working off their desktop anymore. They're going to use phones to compute. And I see that over the next 10 years. And I'm willing to take that bet. This shows you the nature of his vision. He saw 10 years forward and was willing to take a 20 billion investment in a highly competitive market when the market cap of SoftBank was 9 billion. And that was 15 years ago, and it all came true. It takes time, as he said. It's not going to happen in a year or two. He invests ahead of major technology trends for a decade or 5 years. It took 20 years for Alibaba to come through. But most importantly, he has huge enthusiasm for the fund and is passionate about the role technology can play in improving the lives of everyone on the planet. I'm learning so much from him. I've learned so much over the past 7 years working with him. And it's not just about technology. It could be about any field. It could be about solar. It could be about architecture, about art. He works 15 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right. Well, that does sound visionary. Mr. Misra, thank you very much indeed for coming on Frankly Speaking. It's been a great pleasure to have you, and I'm grateful for your candid insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Frank. See you soon.
I hope so.